Hi, this is Dr. Karen Wilson Starks, your host for the Voice of Leadership and for Dr. Karen Speaks Leadership. This is the show for corporate executives who value practical leadership counsel on how to accelerate and elevate positive and profitable workplaces consistent with biblical tenets. Today, we are talking about agility and resilience. The speed of change in the marketplace is faster than ever. Although agility and resilience have been important for a long time, they're even more important now. The way business was done yesterday is not how it's done today. Agility is the ability to think, understand, and move quickly and easily in response to challenge or to change. It's to be nimble. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from a difficulty or a setback. In today's world, bouncing back to where you were is not enough. You must bounce forward to a new and better place. In the next few years, we can anticipate a strategic shift in company leadership with the next wave of baby boomer corporate retirements. In addition, to remain relevant and innovative, businesses will become more technologically savvy and incorporate the right human and artificial intelligence to increase speed to the market and quality of delivery. How can you prepare and where do you need to direct your attention? I'd like to share 7 essential actions to enhance your company's agility and resilience. Number one, it's important to every day regularly scan the environment to identify relevant opportunities. And when I say the environment, I mean industry trends, industry publications, journals, newsletters, and news. Find out what's going on in your field of business. Find out what's coming down the pike, what's new, and what's expected. You also want to look at business trends in other industries because there are some industries that impact what happens in your industry. So you want to be very much aware of what's next in those industries that are related to yours. And also, sometimes, even if an industry is not related to your industry, you can get some good ideas about how to walk through this season and to take advantage of what I'll call your creative opportunities. You also want to pay attention to world events. What's happening globally in your country and elsewhere? Where are wars taking place on the globe? What's the status of those wars? Are they almost concluded? Are they escalating? What's happening there? What's going on with climate change? How is climate change being addressed? Are there solutions in place, or are people looking for solutions that might impact your nature of business? Look at elections in different countries. Who's coming into power? What decisions might they make? How might that affect your business, and particularly as a global business? You also want to pay attention to the economy. Where are there challenges in the economy? And where are there some countries who are doing quite well or looking for expertise in certain areas? And what's the state of AI? What are we learning? What's new and what's going on there? So, number one, you want to scan the environment because you want to identify what I call relevant opportunities. Not everything is going to be appropriate for your business. So, you'll have to make a determination about the trends that are going on and what's relevant for you and the service and or products that you provide. Number two, you want to talk to and interview your customers. And when I say talk to, this is both formal and informal conversations. Just in the course of providing service to your clients, you'll be talking to them occasionally. Well, find out what they're talking about, what's on their minds. What is it that they really need right now? What is it that they really want right now? And what are they not getting from other providers and other people in the marketplace? Keep in mind that people will pay extra for value that they want and value that's hard to get elsewhere. So you can find opportunities just by having those conversations with your clients. You also want to think about what's next in your relationship and how to add value to clients. For example, if you were working in a human resources field and you were consulting in that way, providing services to a major corporation from an HR perspective, you might start out assisting them with recruiting needs. And then, as you recruit a number of people for them to consider, you may discover that not only do they need recruiting, they might need help figuring out how to do selection of the right people. And then, after they select the right people, they may have a need for orientation services or for onboarding and executive integration, integrating those executives into the company and into the life of the business. They'll need executive development and also executive retention, which relates to addressing the culture, making sure employees are engaged and that they're productive and accountable, and some focus on succession. So when you think about that next step relationship, what do they need to master next? What have you already helped them with? What's next in the equation? What else can you help your customer with? And then E, I would say, what are some of the corollary services? May not be directly in line like recruitment and selection and orientation, onboarding, executive integration. However, if you're in that human resources space, you may discover that that company needs to have a new employee handbook or the old one needs to be revised. Perhaps they need training classes in certain subjects. It could be sexual harassment training or how to give feedback or how to do performance reviews or how to lead teams. So what are those corollary services parallel to what you're already offering that your client needs and you have the ability and expertise to provide those services? And then number three, I would say you want to take this data that you've been collecting and you want to mine that data, analyze it, and summarize what you see. You want to identify trends and opportunities and then explore and test what you're thinking. You may have a notion that the next step is figuring out executive integration in the company. Go back to your client and have a conversation with them about that. You also want to talk to industry colleagues and experts, attend conferences where futurists are speaking. And when you identify something that looks good, that your clients think even is promising, then you want to refine that idea with the clients and test it, launch it, see how it works, figure out what you need to do to tweak it so that it works a little bit better. And you want to remember in whatever your industry or business that you want to have services for multiple constituency groups. We are in a workplace where we have a broad range of generations who are still working. And in our broader world of people who are utilizing services, people are ranging in age and some are living much longer. There are people who are near 100 years old, like, for example, my parents who are still living, the ones I'm speaking collectively of both my husband and I, the parents who are still living are close to 100 years old. And that population is really not savvy with computers. They don't necessarily use computers or even have computers. And sometimes the phone company wants to send them online to pay their phone bill. And this is a generation of people who will have a phone, and yet that's not a viable solution for that age group. So even though you may be moving in some more innovative ways, remember to still have some legacy services in place to serve those populations who may be growing older and may not be appropriate for the new technologies that you would like to roll out and that your younger constituencies definitely value. For example, I know that in the military, where I am a beneficiary of medical services, and when I say a beneficiary, I mean I'm able to use the insurance program to actually seek services outside of the military base or post itself. And what's fascinating to me is that for the younger active duty members of the military, they have ways for them to access services by telephone, which is very easy for those of us who are older. And for the older generation, they have confined all of us to a computer system, which is not very effective, and it makes it really hard to access the benefits. So I came to the conclusion maybe they're just trying to make sure we don't use the benefits or can't access them, because it would seem more reasonable to put the younger people on the computers and put the older people on the telephones. So again, keep all of this in mind as you're providing services and as you are delighting, hopefully, the full panoply and range of your customers. And then after you've mined and analyzed and summarized those results, this next step is very important. Number 4, you have to decide what direction your company is going to take and what do you want to do as a result of this information. Is there a new service or suite of services you're planning to provide? Are there new products you're going to roll out as a result of what you have learned? Because your decision guides your next steps and it gives you focus. So you want to know what you're going to do next, make a decision, decide what's next. And when you decide what you want to do and understand why you want to do it, don't worry about the how. As you get more into it, as you start to think about it, start to implement, experiment, and test, more of the how will come to you. So many people delay their start because they're waiting to get the how first. And I'd say get the what, get the why, and get going. So first decide what you want to do, the direction you're going in. Number 5 would be attract, hire, and retain the best people for what you want to do now and in the near future. So you're hiring for these future company needs and not for the past needs or even in the image of current leadership. It may be that as you're entering into this season, you need some additional skills and talents and abilities in order to live into that chosen future. And if you hire in the image of your current leaders, you'll have more of the same and not the additional new competencies and abilities on top of what you already have. So be visionary, look ahead, say, what do we need? What don't we have? What do we need to double down on in terms of recruiting people with those skills, abilities, and or perspectives? And this is hard because it means you have to decide where you're going and then what skills and abilities are needed for that journey and where you're headed. You also want to hire people for the qualities of agility, resilience, and change readiness, understanding that not everybody is going to be equally open to change, and that's okay. You want some people who may have a particular propensity for implementing ideas or for finding out what is the challenge in implementation. Everybody doesn't need to be, quote, the visionary who thinks up the new thing. Some people also have to implement. Yet at the same time, in this fast-paced world, you want more of your people more easily change ready. Otherwise, you will be delayed getting to the marketplace with these new ideas. So you want to hire for that. Make sure that you are evaluating candidates for their agility, resilience, and change readiness. And whatever strengths you already have in your organization, you want to know what those are because you are intentionally adding to those capabilities. You also want to create a culture of development because it's not enough just to attract and hire the people. You also have to retain them. And this culture of development is part of the retention plan. It helps you retain people and it also gives you speed and readiness for the new market that you're going after. So when I say creating this culture of development, I mean providing coaching, mentoring, and training to your people to quickly up-level their skills. If people have to learn everything the hard way, it takes longer. They make a lot more unnecessary mistakes, and this affects your speed in being able to conduct these new services or to roll out these new products. You also want to develop a learning culture. This learning culture says, okay, we're going to have lots of experiences as an organization, and we want to stop and to reflect on those experiences and ask questions like, what did we learn? What are we learning? And how can we use this learning to better add value? This is how you stay ahead of the curve. It's not enough just to have an experience. You must reflect on it, mind the learning, and that new learning is necessary for success, especially with anything new that you are doing. Be willing to change as you learn. There will be constant shifts and refinements as you go along. And as you learn, do course corrections. Add what the new thing is that you need in order to get to your destination. So imagine that you're an airline pilot and you're flying from San Francisco to Washington, D.C. And how you fly is a function of the wind speed, the altitude, other aspects of weather, and you might have to alter your speed significantly. You may have to use more or less fuel depending on whether you have a headwind or a tailwind. You may have to go up higher when you're flying over the Rocky Mountains. And then sometimes there are unforeseen events that happen mid-flight. So it could be that someone on your flight gets ill. Instead of flying nonstop to Washington, D.C., you might have to make an emergency landing in Denver, Colorado, so that that person who got ill can get to the hospital. So you want to have the nimbleness, the flexibility, the agility to make those adjustments and changes right in midair as you're flying. And that's how it works for your business as well. So sometimes you have to change course in the middle of what you're doing. And in your organization, as you're working on this learning culture, you want to both champion in terms of what you say and reward change and new thinking. So reward that in your organization and you'll get more of it. And then number 6 in this list of how to be ready for agility and resilience is to plan for succession. You're not going to be there forever. The other top executives in your company won't be there forever, nor will your people in your organization be there forever. So you always have to be thinking about how to prepare all the people who are capable and available to the highest level of their skills. And we already talked about coaching, mentoring, developing, training, so on. As many people as you see potential in, you want to develop them as much as you can, understanding that a good number of them are not going to stay with you because we are in a very mobile workplace and people are changing companies and organizations on a regular basis and quickly. So you might have someone for a couple of years. You probably won't have most people for 30 years. So think in terms of the shorter window, the shorter trajectory. And that means you have to have a number of people on board and being cross-developed in multiple areas. So it's beyond the days when you picked one person to succeed you as the CEO. Rather, you want to have a bench of people who could be considered for a bench of possible positions in your organization. And that includes positions that exist today and also positions that aren't even on the map yet because you don't even know you need those. They will come up later. So be aware of people's skills, their abilities, and value they can add that you may not need today, though you could need tomorrow. So you want to understand what those competencies are that people are bringing. And you want to be very intentional about transferring knowledge from the outgoing leadership to incoming leadership, because that existing knowledge is an important foundation upon which to build the new information that's coming in. You don't want your new people to have to totally reinvent the wheel, when in fact there's a foundation in place. So you want to plan these transitions so that there's some overlap between the one who's going out, the one who's coming in. There's an opportunity to do some handoffs and an opportunity to provide this transfer of knowledge and to provide some growth opportunities in a safer context. In other words, if there's someone who's going to be CEO next, it's nice if they can engage in some of the activities of CEO while they have a little top cover and before that top cover is gone. So you want your people to be challenged by putting them in roles and responsibilities and jobs that teach them new competencies, new abilities, and also give you a window on how well they do with those opportunities. So not only are you developing them, you're also assessing them through these development opportunities. You will get a sense of what each person does well in and also where they may need some additional development. So succession is something you have to plan for, or you'll get caught short and you won't have the right person to go into the slot. And it may be vacated more quickly than you anticipate. And then number 7 is you want to partner and collaborate with others. And this is for speed and agility. You need to collaborate with people who are not necessarily in your organization. And this is recognizing that you don't have all the expertise you need in your own company. No one does. And that means that you have to see the benefit of strategic partners and collaborators that creates creative advantage for both of you. So you want to think about and cultivate relationships that are mutually beneficial. And in those cases, you're sharing labor, responsibilities, and financial and other benefits. This speeds your time to the marketplace when you have the right partners, and you are able then to provide the right products and services to your clients in a timely manner. So you want to partner with those who already have a capability that you need. You want to have partnerships with people who have already developed expertise that's in parallel with some needed areas that you have. So, for example, you might manufacture food and drinks, and you're partnering with someone else who's very good at packaging food and drink products and distributing your products. It's not always time efficient or cost effective to do your own packaging and distributing. Sometimes it is, although not always. And you want to take a look at that and count the cost, both in time, effort, and money. And if a strategic alliance with a partner is better for your speed, agility, and ability to do what you do best, which is the food manufacturing, maybe a partnership is the way to go. That's not always true. So you'll have to evaluate what is best for your organization. You also want to think about how to partner with those who have access to your clients for a very different service or product than what you provide. So imagine, for example, that you're a company that provides medical devices and you talk to hospital physicians on a regular basis about what's new, what's out there, what life-saving devices that you've developed, and how they can use these in their practices. And perhaps there's another organization that provides pharmaceuticals, and they too are speaking to physicians. There may be a way to tag team and to offer both sets of products at the same time, and even to show how, in some cases, those products may work well together and in tandem. So, this requires some forethought and thinking, imagining who else is out there, and approaching them about some partnership and collaboration opportunities. Sometimes the partners that you are partnering with will be outside consultants, and these are consultants that you hire because they have some knowledge, expertise that will extend your reach, your learning, and your abilities. And again, this increases your speed, your expertise, and your agility. So these are the kinds of things that you want to think about. So if I just do a quick review of the 7 items, let me just go over those again. So number 1, you want to scan the environment to identify relevant opportunities. This is publications and conferences in your industry, in other industries, as well as the news. You want to talk to and interview your clients, speak to them formally and informally to find out what they need next and what they're thinking about. Number 3, you want to mine the data that you're collecting from all of these sources. You want to analyze and summarize it to figure out what are the relevant opportunities. And then number 4, you decide your direction and what it is that you want to do, because that's going to determine the next steps. And number 5 would be attract, hire, and retain the best people for what you want to do next. And that includes creating a culture of development, because that helps with retention and speed. And then number 6, plan for succession, keeping in mind that people will go in and out of your organization, and you want multiple people prepared at all times for multiple jobs. And then number 7 is partner and collaborate with others, people who have an expertise that partnered well with your expertise, people who are providing a service that's complementary to yours, and people who already have access to a place you need to go, and you both can go there together or take each other with you. So those are just some possibilities. And here's what I want you to keep in mind and to remember. Future success is intentional and proactive. So companies who decide what they want and go after it are more likely to reach their targets. Those who are reactive will be defined by market conditions, governments, and other geopolitical pressures. The more profitable option is to resist passivity and to create your own success in market, no matter what the government and what the marketplace is doing. Success is possible in every economy, including in recessions and depressions. The best options go to those who seize the moment, put a stake in the ground, and plan ahead. So choose to create your own desired future. When I think about agility, one of the people who comes to mind is the Apostle Paul. He also comes to mind for resilience. However, this particular example I want to share is especially about the agility aspect. The Apostle Paul was very passionate about sharing the good news with people, all people from all over. He was known as the apostle to the Gentiles. However, he cared so much about his Jewish brethren. He was always thinking about them as well and how he could share the good news. So what I'm going to read today is 1 Corinthians, the 9th chapter, and verses 19 through 23, where he talks about how flexible and agile he is in order to reach as many people as possible. And he says, "For though I am free from all men, I have made myself a servant to all, that I might win the more. And to the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might win Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, that I might win those who are under the law. To those who are without law, as without law, not being without law toward God, but under law toward Christ, that I might win those who are without law. To the weak I became as weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. Now this I do for the gospel's sake, that I may be partaker of it with you." So he cared so much that even as a Jewish man, he was comfortable with his Jewish brethren and coming towards them with a knowledge and understanding of the Jewish scriptures and the Jewish culture, the Jewish way of life. And to the Gentiles, having lived among them, he was also comfortable speaking to them about what was important to them. In fact, he even once in Athens saw that they had a monument, temple to an unknown God. And he said, I'm here to tell you about the unknown God that you don't know about. That's how agile and flexible he was to be able to shift right in the moment. So when you think about your business, care enough about the people that you serve to be agile enough to reach the people in your target market, no matter whether they are older, younger, if they live on the East Coast, the West Coast, across the globe, whatever that target market is for you, have mechanisms for reaching all elements of it. That is important, and be flexible enough to deliver that kind of product and service. So, as we're closing today, I want to just remind you that if you are a corporate executive and you want to talk to me about how to be more agile and resilient in your leadership and in your business, then contact me at Dr. Karen, Karen, at transleadership.com. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Be agile, flexible, resilient, and healthy and prosperous. Hi, this is Dr. Karen Wilson Starks, President and CEO of TRANSLEADERSHIP Incorporated. Did you know that workplaces can make a significant difference in the lives of people, and that you can create a positive culture that gets positive business results and also produces positive life experiences for your employees and your clients and customers? You can make a significant contribution to the world by creating the kind of culture where your people can bring their gifts to provide the most relevant and excellent products and services to your marketplace. What the research shows is that companies with excellent leadership are also more profitable. So as you flourish and as you grow in the world, you can do more for yourself as well as for others. So if this is resonating with you and you want to create a positive, profitable, and powerful corporate culture, and you care about succession, leaving the organization in a better position than when you found it, do keep in mind that that kind of legacy is something that's intentional. And I am happy to partner with you to take your organization to the next level and create that positive leadership culture. So reach me at Dr. Karen, Karen, at transleadership.com. You've been listening to The Voice of Leadership with me, Dr. Karen Wilson Starks. And I want to give a special thanks to jazz saxophonist Ron McMillan for granting us permission to use his gifted music on our show. Thanks for listening, and remember to go to my website, transleadership.com, for more strategies, insights, and leadership resources.